Okay, welcome everyone, and thanks for allowing me to speak with y'all. Today we're going to talk about why should you buy a house instead of just renting. And we're going to tackle your fears and talk about when it's wise to take risk and make big purchases like a house. And we'll discuss the reasons why most people avoid buying property and why they indeed should not. We'll discuss the qualifications needed to buy a home in Texas and the pros and cons of renting versus buying your home. And we'll help you determine if renting or buying is the right solution for you personally. Okay, pros of renting your home. You're only locked into a lease for 6 or 12 months, and you can move anytime after that or renew your lease. It's a short-term stay. You have close neighbors, which could become your new friends. Most apartments are near a bus stop, so if you don't have a car, they're usually on an easy access road. And that's about all the benefits I can think of. Okay, reasons why people rent their home instead of buying. Some think they're too young to do a serious thing like buying a house. But actually, millennials, young adults under age 35, constitute 1/3 of buyers, especially in Texas. And age really has nothing to do with when you're ready to buy a home. And something to think about, most people have a car that they're leasing or buying. And most people have signed a lease, or if they're buying a car, either way, it's 3 to 5 years that you're paying on that car. So most people feel comfortable enough that they're going to have to use this transportation for the next 3 to 5 years, that they're willing to sign that contract and agree to pay that note every month. And 5 years is actually the same amount of time that most people hold their first home. So it's not much longer of a contract than buying a car. And here we have a chart from smartasset.com, and it shows where millennials are buying homes the most. And we see here in the state of Texas, we have the most millennial buyers out of any other state. So it's a state where many young people are buying a home. So that's not a good reason not to buy a home. Okay, some people think they have to be married before they buy their home. And when people think of being in their home, they think of being with their spouse and perhaps children. But you don't need any of those things to own your own home. And there was an article in the National Association of Realtors report of April 2016, and it was titled, "All the Single Ladies Are Buying Homes." And they stated that according to the 2016 National Association of Realtors Home Buyer and Seller Generational Trends report, single females make up 15% of all home buyers. And this number creeps up when looking at older buyers. 20% of buyers between 51 and 60, and 19% between 61 to 69 are single females. So again, being single, not a reason to not buy a home. Okay, reasons why people rent a home. They think they're too old to buy a home. And many people say, I'll wait to buy a home. One day I'm going to buy a home. It's my dream. One day I'm going to get one. And then, as a lady here in the New York Times newspaper said, she said all of a sudden phase 3 of life comes. You've finished raising your family, now you're all alone. In her case, she just lost her spouse, and all of a sudden she was single again. And so she said, I want to own a piece of property before I die, and not a cemetery plot. So she finally, at age 84, bought her first home. So there's no limit to how old you can be when you buy your first home. Some people think they can't qualify for a home loan. So what do you need to qualify? Your credit score needs to be at least 620, 640 for some lenders. Some lenders like you to have a 640 score when you start. And that way, if anything happens during the process of you looking for a home before you actually get to the closing date, if your score goes down a few points, you still qualify. You need to be on your job or have stable income for at least 2 years. And that's whether you work for someone else or for yourself. You need to have proper identification, license, passport to prove that you are who you say you are. You have to agree to pay a monthly note until the balance of your loan is paid in full. So most loan periods are 20 years or 30 years. So it's a long obligation. You do have the option to sell your house anytime before that. Okay. Reasons why people continue to rent a home or an apartment. If you live in the rental, the owner or the management company is responsible for cutting the grass, cleaning the outside, any repairs that need to be done on the property, and they pay all the taxes. And when you own your own home, you're responsible for keeping your property clean and updated, cutting the grass and trimming the trees, and paying your federal and local taxes. But that's a small price to pay for the pride of home ownership. And plus, as a homeowner, you do get to write many of the taxes off on your tax return, and even some of the cost of upkeep. So you get some of that back via your tax return. Now, renting a home versus buying a home, some benefits here. When you're renting a home, if a situation arises where you can't pay your rent, they can evict you within 21 days in Texas. But if you're buying your own home and you can't pay your mortgage note, there are several options for you. You can get a deferment. You can have your loan company wrap around the notes that you missed to the end. There's also a thing called forbearance, where they actually forgive the months that you couldn't pay. So you have options when you're buying your home. You don't have to worry so much about losing it. And you'll have a generous portion of land between your home and the next. You'll have a nice sized yard versus a small or no one when you're renting. Okay, why should you buy a house? Okay, so hopefully I've answered that question for y'all. Do anybody have questions?
I do. Just one question. That if your credit score has to be 620, if you're in a married as a couple, does that apply? Does your spouse have to have the same thing, or can your spouse be, not on the contract far as credit?
Both spouses would need the 620 credit score because the loan would be in both of your name. So they want to see a 620 score from both spouses.